The philosophical thought that we discussed earlier leads to a way of looking on things which is summarized in one single word, and that is Eurocentrism, which means that based on Europe we draw everything in our life. If you go to a bookshop and ask, please give me a map of the world, and open it and put it on a wall with some tape and then try to look into it. It has the whole globe projected, and in the center there is a thin line which is known as Greenwich time line. This line tells you on right side of the line you have to add 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours to tell what is your time. If you are 5 steps away from this line, then plus 5 is your national time. But plus 5 means what? Plus 5 from the Greenwich line. What is Greenwich line? The colonialist, Eurocentric. Europe will tell you what is happening at this hour in your country. Is it morning, evening or night? Therefore, your watch is controlled by me, Europe. When you open the book of history, then you find that there is a dark age, there is an age of enlightenment, age of science. Based on that, you define your own history, which means historical vision, your self understanding is based on what you are told by Europe. If they tell you are underdeveloped, developing, less developed, then you believe in that. A person who is covering his whole body, walking in a street in Paris or London, is considered a primitive, conservative person who does not belong to this society. Same person, when he comes in a 3-piece suit, or a lady comes in half covered dress, then she is a acceptable person, a modern person, a dignified person as defined by them, which means whatever we are doing is based on that. Concept of civilization, concept of research. If you publish a research paper in a journal in France or Germany or Britain, then HEC says you are a big scholar. If you print that in a journal which may be of much higher standard, but in Pakistan, then you are just a HEC recognized scholar. Impact factor means that club of people who refer to each other in research, and you say that I am quoted so many times, therefore I have high impact factor, or a journal impact factor. This journal is quoted in such place in so many times, so I have a high impact factor of the journal. Individual or journal makes no difference. Basis is Europe, everything, no standards of our own. Next please. The impact of this philosophy and culture is globalization, a term used frequently and quite often our scholars and statesmen, rulers of a country and politicians, intellectuals, teachers of philosophy and literature, they use it to show that they are living in a modern world. What does that mean? That means economic development, political ideals, social benchmarks, cultural norms, educational standards, law, electronic means, everything should have global standard. What is global standard? Fixed by Europe or America. Even if you want to buy sanitary for your bathroom, it has a print on it, American standard, European standard, then you are in age of globalization. You cannot have your own standards. So, everything in the name of globalization is essentially a colonization that has continued in a new name. Next please. Then we have again a concept, a philosophy, and that is everything evolves. Therefore, it is not just biological evolution, but evolutionary thought. We trace evolutionary processes, research of everything. Who was the first writer on this subject? Who was next? Who was next in timeline? And then with that evolutionary approach, we say this is the most latest philosophy or object. That means everything is to be revised and updated. If this is the most authentic way, then does it also mean that religious texts revealed should also be revised and evolved? Does it mean that the Quran, which was revealed in 7th century, was for that age and now it is out of date? It must evolve, it must grow. All those concepts which are put in my mind and your mind ultimately make us think, and so we come up with apologetic approaches and say, well, everything in Quran is not that absolute, but some are absolute and some are customary and some are so and so and so, and these may be reviewed and considered. I am not saying hypothetically, I can give you specific references of Muslim scholars who have said these words very clearly. Spirit of Islam is a very famous book by Justice Amir Ali, which was at one time the most authentic source for learning about Islam. And there he talks about certain Quranic laws and says that these laws need to be reviewed and updated because they are no more in line with the modern society, because this evolutionary impact. So, evolutionary thought is not confined to one single area, it has impacted on us. Next please. We live in a society where human psyche is also an important area, and people who talk about human relationship, human self understanding, human mental health, they always try to find out how we approach the issue and how we resolve it. And for that matter, we find that various philosophers in this age have come up with certain theoretical framework. Among those, one has been Sigmund Freud, who thought that whatever is human personality is not all what we see apparently, but human personality has a greater part which is not visible, unconscious or subconscious, and that plays major role in our behavior. That is one philosophy. Carl Jung with different approach, B.F. Skinner as behaviorist with different approach, Erich Fromm with different approach, and many others. Based on that, we study human behavior. Based on that, we analyze a personality. What type of personality? And then once we classify a person this type of personality, then we behave in the same way and treat the problems in the same way. Everything is based on those assumptions. Therefore, even our treatment of clinical psychology is based essentially on the prototype that exists somewhere in the mind of a European scientist or a philosopher.